guys, welcome back. This video is all about trying to conceive again after miscarriage and walking through what that process has been like for us and what the next step is. So I'm gonna try and keep it short, but I've noticed that I can't really do that. So if you need to pause and grab a coffee or something, you can do that now. The first thing is we had to wait 30 days from when we miscarried. So we miscarried on in June, and we spent most of those 30 days kind of debating, like, do we start again? Do we take a longer break? I know many friends who suffered miscarriages who decide, you know, I need a minute, both emotionally and physically and everything else in between. And for some part of it, I was definitely on team, let's take a break. But something kicked in around day 20 maybe, and I just felt like, for me, that wait was not relaxing. Those 30 days, but we weren't TTC, and I was just in the thick of like getting over the miscarriage itself. We're not relaxing. The first 10 days, or the first 5 days after miscarriage were awful and painful, and then I had complications, so like that part I was not thinking about any forward progress at all. Reggie. So for the beginning, I really didn't think about like what I was going to be doing because I was just in the thick of it. But as that like healing started and physically I felt okay again, outside of being anemic, I was ready. I had so much what I call anecdata, and my husband laughs at, just stories of people who said, I miscarried and then immediately the next cycle or a month later or whatever, my next attempt, I was successful and had a baby, and this baby's now 6 years old or whatever. And I know it's grasping at straws. Like I know that whatever, there's stories. But I just couldn't get over that, especially because I'd heard anecdata about your first cycle after an HSG was being more successful for whatever reason, like an extra 15% or something like that. And it did work out that way for me. I had an HSG, the next cycle I got pregnant, and then unfortunately at 10 weeks I miscarried, but I got pregnant my first cycle, and I don't know if it was whatever, but I technically did an HSG right before. So maybe these anecdotes where there's a full flushing of a system make sense, or that's how my body reacts. I don't know. And also, I was afraid. I'm still afraid. I am currently in the thick of my 2-week wait. So spoiler alert, I guess. But it's like panicked because every possible outcome is terrifying for me. And that is, I think, what is stolen from women and couples who struggle to conceive, is I feel like every step of the way you have to be what my fertility doctor calls cautiously optimistic. If I weren't trying to get pregnant at every given moment, I would play a drinking game out of how many times my fertility doctor says cautiously optimistic, because it's a lot. So I think that there's just like, so here are the factors that have come up in my head. Option 1, we immediately try to conceive and I don't get pregnant for whatever reason. Well, let me back that up. Option 1 was we try to conceive and the doctor had already told us we were going to do the exact same cycle again because it worked the last round. And for whatever reason, Femara doesn't work and my follicles don't play ball, I think is the phrase. So that's terrifying option number 1. Terrifying option number 2 is I don't get pregnant, and for whatever reason in my mind I will go to the dark rabbit hole of that was my one chance, I lost that one baby and I'm never gonna get another one. For whatever reason, I'm never gonna be able to get pregnant again. You know how this screwed up mind works. Option 3 is we do get pregnant, and then the entire, at least first 10 weeks, more than likely first trimester, second trimester, I don't know when this will end, I am crazy anxious and scared that another miscarriage will happen, because one miscarriage is hard. 2 miscarriages, I don't know. Anyway, that's panic number 3. Panic number 4 is that I get pregnant, and because of the stress level and anxiety levels that I carry from fear of miscarrying and all the other stuff that I have wrapped up in this, I cause something bad to happen to the baby because of my stress level and anxiety. So like, think of all this. This is not a healthy amount of things to be afraid of, I'm pretty sure. Like, not a doctor, but not great. And I felt like if we didn't do it right away, if we didn't just get back on the horse, my fears were only going to multiply, and you know, I'm not letting fear stop me. So we're doing this again. On day 30, I called the doctor and we scheduled a baseline ultrasound for the following week. What we were looking for at that point is, how did my uterus look? How did my ovaries look? And was my lining at the right stage? If it was too thick from that 30-day gap from when I miscarried, then I would have had to do Provera again. If you're familiar with my videos from January, I did Provera in January and had what I call the death period, because it was a lot of bleeding. So if my lining had been too thick, I would have had to do that. I went in for my baseline ultrasound and everything was great. Everything looked okay. My lining was the right size. I didn't need to go on Provera. I had tons of follicles all over the place in both ovaries, just little babies. Not babies, but you know what I mean. So we started Femara. So that was on what we deemed cycle day 2 was my ultrasound. Next day, I started Femara. We did need to take a blood test to just confirm that all the HCG had left my system, and it had. I was at a 0. And you know, went and got my Femara prescription, and that was exciting, bittersweet. I don't know. It just felt weird. So I started Femara again. I did 7.5 milligrams for 5 days. So cycle days 3 through 7. Cycle day 6, I had a little bit of dizziness while I was at work. And if you remember my first cycle, I was dizzy one day of my cycle, but we were also at IKEA that day. So I couldn't figure out, like, is this just like stress from being at IKEA, or is this actually Femara? And now that it's happened twice, I'm guessing it's probably the Femara. Although IKEA does make me dizzy, so I don't know. But outside of that, no other side effects. And as you know, that actually panics me, because side effects are a sign that something is happening or something. I don't know. I feel like I'm broken inside. But yeah, I was pretty panicked and pretty sure that nothing was working, because I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel swelling. I didn't feel, anything. And frankly, I don't remember feeling anything the last round either, but I just felt like I needed a sign, and I didn't get a single one. I went in on cycle day 12 to see what the growth was like. The growth was not bad. So I was panicked, truly panicked going into this, because this was the one that was going to tell me if fear number 1 was true or not. Did my body respond to Femara the second round after it did the first round, or like it did the first round? And I had 2 follicles that were measuring 14, 15, pretty sure, yeah. And that was good. That's about what it was last time. And what you'll notice in this story is that I'm going to compare this time to last time every step of the way, and it's, pro tip, not the healthiest. But I was thrilled, because at least there were follicles and they were growing. We scheduled another ultrasound for cycle day 15. Last cycle, cycle day 15 is when they were big enough to trigger. This cycle, I went into cycle day 15, and there were still 2 follicles that were growing. They were both around 18, so not big enough to trigger yet. And I mean, minor panic, but they did not seem at all like worried or stressed that it was different than the last time. They asked me to come in again the next day, and they would do an ultrasound and see if I was ready to trigger. Then they're always looking for follicle size larger than 20 is the way that my RE works. I just like hiccuped in my mouth. I hope that you couldn't hear or see that. Oh, it's embarrassing. Okay, so follicle day or cycle day 15, I'm not ready, even though I was last time. Minor emotional meltdown, whatever. Cycle day 16, I go in for an ultrasound, and I have one at 21 and one at 22. This was like days ago. I don't know how I already forgot this, but I have 2 on my right ovary that are big enough to trigger, and I'm like jumping for joy basically while laying down in stirrups. But I was so thrilled. I was really nervous. They were also nervous. They had us, the plan was to do timed intercourse, just like we did last time. So they had us do timed intercourse on cycle day 15 that night, just in case I ovulated on my own, which, joke's on you, I'm never going to ovulate on my own, probably. Have not on record yet, so. We trigger that morning. We had 2 follicles on my right ovary. Last time there was 1 follicle on my left ovary. So interesting that it's a different one this time. But we went for it. So trigger shot again. I don't know if I said this last time, but I was expecting it to be on my stomach, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm a plus size woman or because they're doing it for me versus my injecting myself, but they actually do my like hip, like my right hip, like very upper butt cheek, not quite back. I don't know how else to, I'm holding mine right now, which you can't see, which is probably for the best. So we trigger, and the course of action is timed intercourse at hours 12, 24, 36. And then 48 is not necessary, but last time we did 48, and so I just was like obsessively trying to make this cycle like last cycle, because I can't not compare. So yeah, that is the first 16 days of our new cycle, first cycle after miscarriage. The next video will be me testing out the trigger, because again, of course, I had to test out the trigger. I am much too much a control freak to not know what's going on. And then after that, it will be whether this one worked or not. Oh God. Like, telling this story gives me butterflies, and I don't know if that's good butterflies or bad butterflies. I don't know. But if you're out there, TTC-ing, that's a verb. I wish you all the baby dust. And yeah, subscribe down below. I figured out last time how to do the card thing, so I will put my last video up with my miscarriage story. And then I created a fertility playlist that has only fertility videos, although I've only done like 1 non-fertility related video. If you want to see other like just stuff, I've been thinking about doing a Stitch Fix haul, like a plus size Stitch Fix. I can't do it because I can't even say the words, so I guess I'm not doing that one. But I am looking at that website called Shein to see if I want to do one of those plus size hauls. So if any of that kind of stuff interests you, let me know. That's all I've got for now. Have a good night, day, morning, whenever you're watching this. Ciao.